Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
This is Jordan McLeod from Texas State. You're listening to Fun Belt Podcast.
This is the Fun Belt Podcast, part of the Believe Network.
Hosts Dusty Thibodeau of Warhawk Report, Jeremy Harper of Howl Racer, and Shane Metlin of the Daily News Record.
I think it's potentially a very good week for the Sun Belt.
But I'm just kind of going off on a random rant. It's just frustrating.
Welcome back to Fun Belt Podcast. Shane's with me tonight. Tibbs is with me tonight. We're all here tonight, and we're excited, and I'll tell you why. It's because it's not theory anymore, guys. It's not some abstract idea. College football is actually here. Not just college football. Basketball is actually warming up. Volleyball, soccer, they're playing games. Tibbs, they're playing soccer games, and your team, AULM, is undefeated.
And only allowed one goal.
A-State, undefeated, has allowed 0 goals. It's so exciting.
They've only had inter-squad scrimmages.
No, they played real games. Yeah.
No, they've been swagtastic.
No, wait, who did we beat? I can't even remember who we beat. But it was exciting. Hey, everything is exciting and fresh and new. Everybody's 0-0. It doesn't matter what the prognosticators say. Shane, it doesn't matter that Indiana stole 13 of JMU's athletes. Tibbs, it doesn't matter that Arkansas State has beaten ULM like 16 years in a row. All those things don't matter. It's a new season. Anything can happen, guys. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform. It's my most trusted betting platform, and it's your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance to win at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game is over, head on over to our online casino and get in on some blackjack or poker or unwind on one of our 150 slot games. Head to the website today and get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here.
I'm glad we have this recorded to remind you of that later on this year. When you are crying.
Looking forward to another triumphant win over the Warhawks. Yes.
Shane, you're sitting next to him. Just hit him. I mean, I know it's the window there, but just lay into him.
Yeah.
So today, pretty much everybody released their 2 deep, right? Their depth charts.
We got booty.
Yeah. You guys introduced General Booty. Some people had the oars by the quarterbacks' names, which is always frustrating. Shane, JMU didn't commit.
They did not.
Yeah. Were you surprised?
I was getting less surprised by the day when they weren't naming anybody. I think we'll probably see both guys on Saturday, but I wouldn't be surprised if they do have a starter picked and just didn't want to announce it, because I think there's not a lot of film on Alonzo Barnett, but he does a lot of different things than what you'll see from Dylan Morris. So I think a little bit of gamesmanship possibly on Bob Chesney's part, just in not naming a starter at this point.
Now, unlike
for those that what?
I'm about to bust on you, Thibodeau.
Oh, okay. Let me just sit here and be quiet then.
Shane was at the Sunbelt Media Day on Monday when, the coaches do their interviews for the Sunbelt, all 14 interviews. Shane Metlin was there. I was there. I did not see you, Tibbs. Where were you?
I don't even remember Monday, so there's no telling where I was actually at.
And
I did go back and watch the highlights on YouTube. Thank you, Travis. Yeah. Not all of us own our own business where we get to just, tell our boss that we're shoving off for a couple hours, or, it's our real job working at the Daily News Record.
It was, well, yes, Metlin was the only one there with a real job. Yeah, I had to admit that he was doing real journalism, hard-nosed journalism, while the rest of us were just sort of peeping Toms. But I thought Bob Chesney was a little bit cheeky there, Shane, a little bit coy when we start talking about who's starting at quarterback.
He was. Yeah.
And Vincent was too, for what it's worth, Tibbs. Brian Vincent, he was talking about how hot it's been and how the team's gelling, but he was keeping things pretty close too. So all in all, Shane, I think you'll have to admit, pretty useless hour and a half of interviews. Wouldn't you think? Don't you think?
It kind of was. I mean, I don't know that we learned much about any team, other than a lot of coach speak. And, I think it gets better as it goes on, because then you get to ask about what happened in the previous game, who's hurt, all kinds of stuff comes up that they're just not going to say much going into week one when they don't have to.
No, and why would you? And we are all conditioned not even to ask the damn question, because we're not going to get the answer. Thibodeau, did you watch week 0? Are you a week 0 guy?
Hell yeah. I was ready for the popping of the pads. I watched some McNeese versus Tarleton State.
Yeah.
Watched a little bit of Montana State beat New Mexico. And of course,
suck it,
for our Bet Online partners, I watched the Florida State Georgia Tech game, losing my Bet Online currency there in that, taking Florida State minus 14. And I expected a lot better showing. It did not happen. Georgia Tech wins, which is important.
Yes.
Because as we'll talk about later on here in the opening week, Georgia State makes the, 4-foot trek over to Georgia Tech in downtown Atlanta for this season opening game. Georgia State's much like a lot of our teams, where there's so many question marks that we don't really know what to expect. Georgia Tech riding cloud 9. We might see the Panthers raise another banner from having a big win.
Yeah, could this be one of these things where the Yellow Jackets have just totally spent themselves on this big victory?
1-11, baby.
And wouldn't it be funny if they were just like, we're just going to coast at Georgia State, and Georgia State, meanwhile, has been just working their asses off at this moment just to beat Georgia Tech for this on Saturday? That would be awesome, wouldn't it?
I like it. They can put that banner right next to their Tennessee win, and we'll all sound a train horn and call Ben Moore and ask him for a comment.
Would that not make Ben Moore and every Georgia State guy just terminally insufferable?
All 20 of them, yes.
Yes! That's what I like to hear. So, all right, so you kind of alluded to what we're going to have in the show, Tibbs, is we're going to do the return of the 2-minute drill. Is that what we call it? No, second and short. I'm sorry. We call it. It's been a while.
It's been a year, yeah.
We're going to do second and short. And we're going to do it with a guest. Tibbs, please introduce our guest.
He's my favorite friend.
What?
And not just because he has a warehouse full of CPAP supplies. That Jeremy, we both need. We both love.
I might be calling you up, Jason.
There it is. Jason Jones, co-founder of the Trojans Together collective that supports the Troy Trojans. Jason, welcome into the show. I wish it was under better circumstances, but sorry, you just got to deal with us.
I appreciate the invitation, and can't wait to hang out with you guys for a little bit. And just again, thanks for having me on tonight.
And Jeremy, I mean, he's already big time. He's already been on with Group of 5 guys.
Oh.
I see him on the X where he's wearing their hat. We got to get him a T-shirt or one of those great hats.
Yeah,
yeah. So we got to take care of him and let him represent our brand.
All right.
But Jason, tell us about this collective. I think that NIL. There's so many people with so many different acronyms and names. What the hell is Trojans Together? And what are y'all doing for the student athletes at Troy?
Well, the way it got started was back in July 2021 when NIL became a thing. I was the first personally to embrace that with student athletes. And I had deals with more than 30 student athletes across 4 sports. And Chuck Carson, my partner in this whole thing, he and I got to talking about how we needed a collective after seeing a lot of the Power Fives have that and realizing a collective was more than just me going broke trying to pay student athletes to market for Jones Medical Supply. So we opted to get that ball rolling, and we started this thing officially exactly a year ago. I think August 19th of last year was when we announced it. And just the way it works is, we are targeting local businesses to change their way of advertising. So we want them to use social media with Troy student athletes to market their brand. They're going to spend money somewhere advertising, right? They're going to go through newspaper, radio, billboards, all that stuff. So they've got a budget for advertising. Why not do it through social media and let us handle the dirty work? So we do this for free. Our board is made up of guys who have real jobs. Those real jobs require us to actually really work. And we partner with local businesses to find that student athlete that makes sense on an ad and put it out for the world to see through social media. We've got a graphics guy who is an absolute ninja who refuses to be paid and is just incredible. We would be nothing without our graphics guy, Keith. And without him, we wouldn't be here. I mean, there's no way to properly promote brands without it looking the right way. And Keith does all that. So we're a board that does this for fun because we love Troy. We want to see Troy grow. And then we choose our student athletes and we try to find those that are on the field and on the court that people are going to remember their names and want to attach their name to from a branding standpoint.
Well, Jason, I'm probably going to have to come down to Troy and unionize Trojans together and get all your guys like Keith a nice medical package, maybe dental, maybe a retirement fund, maybe a salary. All kidding aside, I know that at Arkansas State, they put together a collective too. I think they call it Impact Club. And
that's right.
And I talked with some of the people that are behind it, and they're business guys like you, people that are in the community that have a stake with the university. Just brought some guys together to make it work. But for them, they felt like it was like a Wild West. They looked at some collectives around that had come around, like Ole Miss was one of the collectives that they really looked at and try to model themselves after. But they felt like there was a sense of every state seems to have their own rules, and there's no NCAA oversight that's really knocking it down. Does it feel a little like a Wild West to you, or do you feel like you got a real thumb on it?
Yeah, no, it is the Wild West, and it is a pain because what you just said, every state has different rules, and the NCAA does not care. In Alabama, you can't have a student athlete promote alcohol, tobacco, gambling, or firearms.
Yeah.
And maybe in Mississippi, they can promote gambling. I'm not saying that they can, but in Mississippi, there's different rules. Georgia, there's different rules. So there's no level playing field. The other thing is the rules change. I talked about July 2021 when this thing started. Carlton Marshall and Scott Taylor Renfro were the first two that I signed, and I'll never forget. We could not use Troy's logo because the state of Alabama had not changed the rules or created the rules to then change the rules so that you could use school logos. So the first ads I did not have a logo on it or say who they played for other than they were the home team. So things have changed a lot. Now the NCAA has pretty much gotten out of the way, say write all the $1 million checks you want to and that kind of thing. But one thing about us being a little, I guess, behind just getting rolling last year, we were able to see some things that didn't work and see some collectives that didn't make it in the G5 level. And to see those decisions that they made, that came back and maybe bit them in the butt a little bit and made sure we didn't make those same decisions. So the timing of it, it all worked out for us. So we've got no complaints. We wouldn't do anything different. As you can see here, to our knowledge, we're the first to have a naming rights deal with a business. And so we've got a 3-year naming rights deal with the Norris Insurance Group here in Troy. That's basically fast forwarded our schedule a couple of years and allowing us to do some things that we had paced to do a couple of years from now. So we're excited about that partnership. And again, looking around the country, we've not seen that anywhere else. So we think we're one of the first to have that done.
So you mentioned that you all really kind of tried to learn lessons. What was maybe the biggest lesson that you didn't realize that you didn't know going into it?
Well, I can tell you this. I went to Chuck first to say, hey, we need to start a collective. We need to charge $20 a month to everybody we can find and build this thing up. And Chuck said, you're an idiot. And then for 6 months, we didn't have a collective. And then Chuck called me back. hey, we need to start a collective. I said, I think we had this conversation. He said, no, we need to do it a different way. So our base level is nowhere near $20 a month. It's a high end deal. And that goes back to what I said a while ago. We're targeting businesses who need to spend advertising dollars somewhere. And so for a business expense, it's a deduction because it's advertising. And so we're asking those businesses, instead of that $5,000, $10,000 contract with a billboard company, to go through us and let us handle their social media. And so the point of that is, what have we learned? The point of that is, we're not out chasing $20 a month deals while we're working those real jobs I talked about a while ago. We can't take care of those people who give their hard-earned money, whether it's $20 a month or $100 a month. We can't take care of those kind of people because we have jobs and lives and wives and everything else. So our higher end on our benefit sheet, you can see it. Our higher end is there for a reason, and that's so that we can take care of those. We can steward those businesses who are giving us $25,000, $50,000 to ensure that they're getting the best bang for their buck. And then the other thing we can give them is access. We're able to do some really cool things. Thanks to everyone in the athletic department, all the coaches, and everyone else who want to partner with us to see this work. And so access is a big deal. And we're just having a good time learning these players, learning the coaching staffs, and hanging out with them and just doing things the right way without having to chase, $20 a month from 500 different people and making sure everybody gets that bumper sticker that they think they paid for.
It's iron on patch. That way it's high.
Whatever works.
So, Jason, I remember talking to somebody from Western Kentucky. They had put together a collective for the Hilltoppers. And what they learned was that student athletes, when they come to a Western Kentucky or a Troy or to a ULM, they want to stay. But they also want to feel wanted. Is that something that Trojans Together works with, is saying, hey, we value you and we want you to stay. We may not be able to give you the kind of money that the Crimson Tide can give you, but what we can give you is appreciation and as much as we can give.
That you could not have set that up any better. That is number one that we think makes us different than others. I'm not saying anybody's doing better or worse, but our relationships are real. We have real relationships with these student athletes. This is across 4 or 5 sports. They call up and ask us advice. Obviously, I'm a business owner. Chuck is a financial advisor. One of our other guys on the board is a banker. One of the other guys on the board is another business guy. We've got an attorney and we've got a CPA on the board. We're here with them with real relationships. It's not fake. We have good conversations with them. We want them to know that they're wanted here. They're here for a reason. Our job is to take care of them. And I can tell you, we the collective and people in this community single-handedly kept Troy men's basketball at a G5 level that never happens. We've got the roster coming back. That includes the Sun Belt Newcomer of the Year. That doesn't happen at the G5 level anymore. And it's because we sat them down and talked to them and told them, we want you to be here. We don't have funds like other schools are going to throw around, that kind of thing. We want to do things the right way and have relationships with them.
Along those lines, I think, when NIL comes out and becomes a thing, there's a lot of sky is falling thoughts from G5 fans. And, the NCAA finally kind of releases some information and some data about NIL. And you look at the average payment for a Power 5 or Power 4 program, and it's really, really high. But then you look at the median, and there's not a ton of difference, especially outside of positions like quarterback.
Right.
So in your experience kind of dealing with these people, is that accurate, I guess, in your experience that, a G5 program can kind of be competitive if you're talking about, a 2-deep type defensive player or something, especially when you can offer both that community playing time, a lot of things, maybe if you're not quite matching the money, but it's close.
That's right. Yeah. And it's one of the things you see is just bad information out there. And it starts with, the Power 5s throwing out numbers that they're not legit. I mean, we've talked to players who have hit the portal and gotten some of those funds that they were promised, and it doesn't add up with XYZ SEC schools saying you're going to get this much. Well, you really got this much. And so there's a lot of fake numbers being thrown around. But yeah, to your point, we're competitive. I'm sure many other G5 schools are competitive with that as well. And, just holding on to who you've got and treating them well goes a long way. And one thing that Jeremy brought up earlier is competing with the Bama's and Auburn's and that kind of thing. That's one of the biggest arguments that I get into with people. I don't know why y'all are doing this NIL thing. You can't compete with Bama and Auburn. Well, when have we competed with them in recruiting anyway? When's the last time we went head to head with their 5 stars? Never. We're here to get those guys and gals that we need to have on these rosters, regardless of where they're coming from. But don't bring the SEC dollars into this, because it has no place in our conversations. Because we're here to be a problem for the Sun Belt and for a problem for the rest of the group of 5.
Bam! I like it.
Well, Jason, it sounds like you know your stuff about NIL, and that's great. I'm glad. Hey, good for you. But do you know your stuff about week 1 of Sun Belt football?
We don't.
Absolutely not. Bring it on.
Then you're in good company. All right, here's what happens on Tuesdays during football season. We do a little something called Second and Short. Oh, you hear the gong, right? Shane, you heard the gong?
Oh, yeah, of course.
The gong's all put together in post-production, but we hear the gong. Anytime you say second and short, the gong goes off. We know it's time for it. Second and short is simple, Jason. We run down every game that happens for the week, but we try to keep the discussion under 2 minutes. Now, we're adding you to this mix, Jason Jones, which means we've got to be truncated in our responses, right? We got to be succinct. We have to be penetrating. We have to be short with how we discuss this. So, guys, we're going to try to keep this under a half an hour discussion, right? I don't know
Negative.
if we can do it. 14 teams. That should be 28 minutes, right? I don't know if we can do it, but we're going to give it a try. All right, you guys ready? I'm moderating. I'll throw out the questions. It's going to go through me, so you guys don't have to stress. I'll do all the stressing. All right. Second and short starts Thursday, August 29th. And guess who gets to sort of be the herald of the Sun Belt? It's the Warhawks. ULM, hosting Jackson State, predicted to finish 3rd in the SWAC East. Tibbs, what can we expect from this game?
I don't know. No.
Of course not.
I mean, I think Bryant said it best in his weekly press conference. There's 73 new players on this roster. This is a team that's really started gelling, started coming around. I think that they have the talent. Are they playing together enough for it to be a blowout win? Probably not. I think they do enough to get the dub and move on. I think that we learn a little bit more about this team, but also keep the cards close to the vest, because we get 2 extra days of rest before the Blazers come to Malone Stadium.
And that's the big game. Jason Jones, do you have any feelings for this game? What do you expect out of Vincent?
Unless Deion Sanders is back at Jackson State, I expect Bryant Vincent to have a statement game in week 1 as a head coach, as he prepares for a payback game that next week against UAB, who didn't see fit to keep him around when Trent Dilfer got the job. So I think ULM wins big. This is a statement game, and give me all the points if there were points on this one.
Shane, we had some chuckles over the Warhawks earlier this season. We know that they're going to struggle. They've got the 73 new players. They got General Booty behind center. That's going to get some cheeky comments from a lot of us. Shane, is this?
I see what you did there.
Yeah, I kind of wish I didn't do it. Shane, is this a statement game? Is this a game that says the Warhawks are for real?
It is, because, like you said, I think it's possible this is a much better ULM team and still doesn't win a whole lot more games, because it's a tough schedule for them. So this is a really important game. It's a really important game for setting the tone and the culture with a new coach. Brian Vincent talked on Monday in the Sun Belt Call about wanting to rile up the Monroe community and ULM alums, and nothing would do it better than to start out with a win. I think they're going to do it. I think it'll be relatively convincing too.
So I haven't talked about the odds, because for FCS, I never do personally. That's always kind of a mixture of things. But an hour later, guys, we get another dose of Sunbelt heat. Coastal Carolina taking on Jacksonville State, who's supposed to be pretty good this season. They give the Gamecocks a 2.5-point favorite. Shane, are the Gamecocks really a 2.5-point favorite over the once mighty Chanticleers?
That makes sense to me. I mean, I like Coastal this year. The more I went through everybody's schedule, I think Coastal has a chance to be, maybe the second, third best team in the East. But that's a tough way to start. I mean, they still have some questions at quarterback. We talked about the teams who didn't name a starter. Coastal's one of them.
Yeah.
I think Jacksonville State's pretty decent for a Conference USA team. Obviously, Rich Rod coaching them, they're going to be pretty good. Big game at home for them. That's a tough opener for Coastal to sign up for.
Jason Jones, we know that the CUSA sucks, but do they suck enough that they give Coastal Carolina the L on week 1?
You won't see me pick against the Sun Belt very often. You certainly won't see me pick Jacksonville State as a Troy Trojan because we go way back in our hatred for each other. But I tell you, Rich Rod and the administrators at Jack State are building something pretty sweet up there. Stadium has had a huge renovation going on. Thursday night, they've already got one under the belt, right? Didn't Jack State play this weekend? Maybe they did, maybe they did. I don't know. Anyway, I think Jack State wins this one by double digits.
Ooh, all right. First of all, I know Shane just said that he kind of looked at the roster and at the schedule and thought there might be something there. I feel like this is going to be a down year for Coastal Carolina. Tibbs, why don't you even out the score here? What's it going to be?
I got to see them last year for what that's worth in that New Orleans Bowl when they beat the Raging Cajuns for their first ever bowl victory and their first ever appearance. I think there's just too many question marks with the Beach Chickens to know what they're going to get. So in the cockfight, I unfortunately am picking Rich Royd and getting the Gamecocks of Central Alabama the nod over the Sun Belt.
Well, you know what? It's hard to argue against Tibbs. He is the godfather of knowledge. All right, then we head over to Saturday, the real college football day in my opinion. It's like when you go to church on a Wednesday or a Saturday. Church is for real on Sunday. Well, college football's for real on Saturday. We open up a 2:30 p.m. game, East Tennessee State at Appalachian State. This should be a really easy game for Appalachian State, Shane.
Yeah, it'll be a blowout. And, it's one of those games, too. It's interesting because App State fans aren't going to look at this as just another, FCS opponent. They've got history with ETSU going back to the SoCon days. It's not very far between those two campuses. So they're going to have fun with beating the pants off of this East Tennessee State team, too. I mean, they might not, be heading to the parking lot to finish tailgating at halftime, even if it's a 30-point blowout. They're going to have fun with this one on Saturday.
Tibbs, the Buccaneers won 3 games last year. Is this game even worth watching on ESPN3? I'm sorry,
why it is.
Plus. Oh my God. No, ESPN Plus, the champagne of streaming TV. Sorry.
Here's why I think that it could be interesting. How many times have we seen this Mountaineers team that had all the talent in the world and still struggle against the likes of Garner Webb, against the likes of Mercer?
Yes.
And Robert Morris early on before they did put a little whooping on them. I think it's a scare game, but the Nears win it. Sean Clark's happy. We're all happy. Joey Aguilar, he keeps the West Coast swag going.
Yeah, maybe pads those stats. Jason Jones, do you have any superior insight?
No superior insight. If this was basketball, it would be a really good game because ETSU is sneaky good in basketball. But it's not. So give me App State with another statement opening weekend.
All right, guys. Next game is my O'Doul's Maintain Your Edge Game of the Week. Boise State at Georgia Southern, 3 p.m. Broncos are a 13-point favorite, which I get. Tibbs, tell me why Georgia Southern's going to win this game.
We can only hope that French does not surrender this game because really this is a huge game for the league as a whole. there's a lot of talk about Boise State being potentially the G5 representative in the playoff. You got to make all these statement wins. And I think Adam Witten even talked about when App State plays Liberty, how that could have bigger implications. I think this is a preview of that and really gets the Sun Belt on the map if Clay Helton is able to get this win. And I think that he can squeak it out, especially since it's in Paulson Stadium.
Yeah, you know what? This is going to be a fun game between Ashton Gentney, I probably mispronounced his name, and Jalen White, two great running backs in the G5. I feel like Georgia Southern really has a lot of advantages in this game. Being at home, having some pretty good players on their side. Jason Jones, why don't you talk some sense into me about this?
I'm with you. That's a long. I don't know that you can get from Boise, Idaho to Statesboro, Georgia. I hope they left today. That is a long way.
There might be some compensation involved.
Well, and there's going to be a humidity level that Boise has not felt since they came to Troy in 2018, I think. So, I like Georgia Southern.
Shane, I like Georgia Southern. Jason likes Georgia Southern. Tibbs, I'm not so sure about. Shane, why don't you bring it all to fruition here?
I think that line is pretty large. I like Georgia Southern to cover for sure. And I wouldn't be shocked if they win it outright. But I just, they're a little bit of a mystery to me too. Like going with J.C. French at quarterback. We've seen mixed bag from their quarterbacks since Helton took over there. They had really good start to like we talked about before. They were kind of a year ahead in the rebuild when he got there. Last year was a little bit disappointing. I don't know exactly what to expect, but it's a huge game for the Sun Belt. Like we'll get to the one Jason's looking forward to, because I think any of these Mountain West matchups are huge for the Sun Belt, because those are going to be the two best G5 leagues, I think.
Yeah.
And best at the top. And these head-to-head matchups are going to be something people point out later in the season.
Yeah, and Tibbs is right. This is a put-up or shut-up game. Is the Sun Belt better than the Mountain West? Well, here's a good time to prove it right now. 15 minutes after that kickoff, though, 15 minutes afterwards, we get Old Dominion in South Carolina on the SEC network. Gamecocks not expected to do much in the bloated SEC this year. Still a 21-game favorite. It's a little understandable. We don't know what Old Dominion's got. Grant Wilson comes back at quarterback. Jason Henderson comes back to deliver the big hits. Jason Jones, is this going to be a weirder game than we expect?
I don't think so. I think sorry, ODU people. I just haven't done a whole lot of homework.
You're dead. Here. Sorry, Jones. You flipped your last thing.
Yeah, I think South Carolina's got this one with no problem.
Tibbs, do you agree? Does Old Dominion and our good friend Ricky Ronnie have no chance?
It's slim, but I like slim.
Oh.
Even though South Carolina has Jared Brown, the transfer receiver from Georgia State there, put up 1,500 yards last year for the Panthers. They also now have Sean Elliott, the former Georgia State head coach, now coaching tight ends. So they have the insight of what Old Dominion has to offer, but I think Ricky Ronnie has a slim chance to pull this one out and at least cover the spread.
Yeah, that's true. But if you look at that South Carolina roster, they just don't have a whole lot of big guys. I mean, not like big play guys. They got Rocket Sanders, who's a transfer out of Arkansas. They're the running back. He's going to get you some yards. Jason Henderson will have his hands full putting a stop on him. Shane Metlin, you probably have your fingers more on the pulse of this team than most people in this audience, or most people in this forum here. What do you think?
I'm not as high on ODU as our friends from the Monarchists were in here last week. They were very optimistic, and I get it too. But I think there's going to be some struggles. The thing that gets me though is just ODU seems to do it when we're not expecting it. We write them off after they get very lucky to beat Texas A&M Commerce last year, which was D2 not too long ago, and they were really lucky to beat them at home. And then they turn around, and they get really competitive with some good teams, and they, have beaten some Power 4 conference teams in recent years. It's really hard to gauge just what you're going to get from ODU. if they keep it close for a while, I think they have a chance. But I also would be surprised if it's kind of over by halftime.
Listen, weirdest team in the Sun Belt by far. You never know what you're going to get from Ricky Ronning and his boys. I would never put even a bet on a game that ODU is involved because you just don't know what's going to happen. So then
and I feel the same way about South Carolina and the SEC. They're the weirdest team in the SEC.
Yeah. There might be so much weird happening. It might tear a hole in the fabric of reality. We should not stand too close to that game. We got to get sucked right into it. 4:00, ESPN Plus, Stony Brook at Marshall. Hey guys, guess how many games Stony Brook won last season? 0 wins last season. They bring that legacy into this game against Marshall. Marshall could really use a nice tune-up game. Shane Metlin, is there any reason to watch this game? Aside from finding out if Marshall's ever going to choose a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's interesting, who they choose and how he looks. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. This is the game that Marshall needed to schedule because they need to build some momentum. They need to just run somebody off the field, and Stony Brook is the perfect opponent to do that against. It's not a great vibe around Huntington right now, and I think they've got some tough games coming up. They do need this one, and they need to win it in impressive fashion, and I think they will.
Dusty, is it going to be this Braylon Braxton guy? Is it going to be Cole Pennington? Is this going to be this new guy, Stone Earl, out of North Texas? Who's starting for quarterback for Marshall this year?
It's Marshall. You got to have a Pennington at quarterback. The only thing better is if they had a Moss at receiver.
Yeah, they should go get one.
Seawolves score just like they did last year against Arkansas State.
Yes.
But it's only one score. And the Herd Thunder.
Jason Jones, I don't know if there's any cherry you can put on top of this analysis, but if you have that cherry, you are welcome to apply it now.
Thunder and Herd by 50. That's all I got.
All right.
That's a whooping.
Okay. All right. Here's another possible whooping, or maybe not a whooping. I don't know, because here's the thing: it's North Texas at South Alabama, and they're giving them the Jags 5 points, which I kind of get. North Texas is not going to be good this year. They lost a lot of guys, but here's the thing about South Alabama: not very good at home. They don't seem to play very well in Mobile, and I don't understand why. Coming with the new coach, Major Applewhite, who's actually the old coach. It's a long story. Tibbs, what kind of game are we going to see?
Heartbreaker, because the Jags always break our hearts, right?
They always break your heart, especially, but yes.
Especially. Now, I'm not a really big fan of North Texas. They abandoned the Sun Belt for whatever greener pasture they thought it was. No pun intended there. But, they've been sucking wind here lately. I think the Jags with Gio Lopez able to get the win and represent a big win over the American, another G5 v G5 win for the league.
Jason Jones, does South Alabama beat the spread, or does the spread beat them?
I've already gone out against all the Trojans in America and picked Jack State a while ago. I will not abort my family twice. South Alabama loses to North Texas. I don't care what the score is. As long as South doesn't win, we're all good.
There's a little bit of hate and steam behind that analysis. Shane Metlin, maybe a more even tone.
Yeah, I have no issues with South Alabama, but I am concerned about their defense a little bit. I mean, they don't have a lot coming back on defense. It's going to be a lot of new faces, especially in the secondary. North Texas is going to throw it all over the place. I don't expect North Texas to be that good, but if this turns into a shootout, that could spell trouble for South Alabama. I think the line, the 5-point spread, makes sense, but I'd be a little bit worried about it becoming a high-scoring affair if I was South Alabama.
Yeah, North Texas has a history of upending some teams, so you got to look out for North Texas. 6:00 p.m., my home team, Arkansas State, welcomes Central Arkansas to Jonesboro. Central Arkansas UCA Bears, a top 15 FCS program this year. So not really like a Eastern Tennessee State type game or a Seahawks type of game. Jason Jones, you want to weigh in on this
Wolves?
What did I say?
Yeah.
Seahawks, yeah.
There's a lot of talk about the West and a lot of talk about Texas State, a lot of talk about Louisiana and where's Troy going to be. I've got Arkansas State circled. That's a team that I'm worried about being a Western Conference guy. It's like Butch started getting things figured out a little bit last year and the better quarterback special. I say all that to say this will be a whipping on the Central Arkansas Bears, I believe.
That's right. The Purple Bears of UCA with their purple and gray field, which we won't be seeing because it'll be played at Jonesboro. Tibbs, do you agree with Jason Jones? Does he have this nailed on the head?
Bears like water.
Okay.
Centennial Bank Stadium has a lot of water, so I really like the Sugar Bears to at least put a big scare in Arkansas State. I agree with Jason that I like Arkansas State. I like this team, but the Sugar Bears are playing way in over their head, ranked number 13. They want to prove that they are the non-Arkansas team, and so they're going to give it everything they can. First team all-conference quarterback Will Weathers, he's going to have a day, but I think Jalen Rayner does just enough to get the Red Wolves the home victory.
They do have a very good quarterback. One thing the Bears do not have this year is much of a wide receiving core. Most of them have either aged out or transferred out, which is kind of strange. Shane, put the cherry on top of this one.
I'm pretty much with everybody else.
Okay.
Give Arkansas State credit for not just scheduling a gimme with their FCS game. It's gonna be a tough one, but I kind of expect UCA to be in it going into the third quarter, but I do like Arkansas State. I think they're just a good team this year, and I think they're going to win by at least a couple scores before it's all said and done.
I'm going to try not to allow that analysis to inflate my head. I'm just going to keep cool and calm and expect a big win. So following that game, well, actually at the same time, kicks off at the same time. Nevada at Troy. Now, Nevada played in week 0. Came very close to beating SMU. Either they're out of gas or they're feeling it. You just don't know. But let me tell you something about what. And Jason Jones, let me know if I get this wrong. This is
You're
what I'm probably yeah. Here's what Troy has lost in the offseason. Kamani Vidal, John Summerall, the coach, Gunnar Watson, Jabri Barber, Javon Solomon, Jaden McDonald. These are all big guys, key contributors to that championship-winning team. Jason Jones, is that going to have any effect on this game in Week 1 against Nevada?
Absolutely. I mean, that you just mentioned some dudes, three of which confirmed on the NFL roster today. So that's exciting news. Proud of those guys, first members of the collective to make it to the NFL. So good for them. And I love our staff, love the team that we got right now, but they've never played under the lights together. So this will be a learning experience for everybody. I am glad that Nevada has that game under their belt because we got to see a little bit of them, and for them to be a 28.5 point dog last week and fight like they did, it was a fun one to watch, and I think that was good for our young group to see and not have to worry about reading the newspapers and saying, hey, we better pay attention. But we've got some guys. You just mentioned a bunch of names that everybody knows. By the end of this season, there'll be some new names that everybody knows. Starts with Goose Crowder, talking about cool names. We got General Booty and we got Goose Crowder in the league. So I like Troy to win. I think the line has moved on this one from 3 touchdowns down to 9.5 or something around that.
I got 9.5.
Yeah, I think that's about right. One thing I don't think Nevada's ready for is that good old South Alabama humidity that we mentioned earlier for Boise. It is a whole nother level. Your eyeballs sweat to the point where you can't even see it sometimes. So I like Troy in this one, and I like GP, Coach Parker, and his staff. I've got full confidence in them and ready to get this head-to-head conference win out of the way.
Well, Jared. Parker, yes, I got to get that right. Jared Parker knows that in Nevada it's a dry heat. In Troy, it's a wet heat. Shane Metlin, is the heat going to play a role, or what else could play a role in this game?
I think the Heat could, and
Okay.
I'm glad you went to Jason first because I really didn't know what to say about Troy. Like, there's so much newness, and Nevada surprised me last week.
Yes.
I went in, I've got my preview magazine over here marked up, what I think is going to happen for each team, and had this down as a win for Troy early on, and second guessed myself a little bit after seeing Nevada last week, but I do think they'll pull it out, and I'm glad to get a little bit of the word from Jason to reassure me there.
It goes without saying that going to Veterans Stadium, it's not easy. No matter how many great players you've lost, you got to go to Veterans Stadium. Tibbs, what do you think? What's your feeling on this game?
Having been there to see when Oklahoma State went to Movie Gallery Stadium to get a win, or excuse me, that Troy beat Oklahoma State, I should say. I still vividly remember that. I think that as long as Jason Jones leads the band to steal the trident, much like Texas State did last year, the Troy Trojans get a win. If that doesn't happen, I can't guarantee a win, and it might be a Nevada upset. So no pressure, Jason. It's all up to you.
All right, I'll have video to you Saturday night. But just don't forget, you brought up that Oklahoma State game. Don't forget the famous diatribe that Gundy went on. Come after me, I'm a man, I'm 40 was all over Troy, Alabama's win, or Troy University's win in Troy, Alabama that night. We'd never have that great clip on the internet if it wasn't for that win.
Come after me, I'm 40. Yes.
Yep.
Legendary times. So 45 minutes after the kickoff of that game, we get another game on the SEC network. Kentucky hosts Southern Miss. Kentucky is a 28-point favorite, but a little like South Carolina. Kentucky really isn't expected to do much in this overly bloated SEC. They're kind of projected to be at the bottom. Southern Miss also not projected to do much. If I remember correctly, Tibbs, Southern Miss didn't get anybody on the all-conference list. Am I right on that? I don't think they got anybody.
Well, one of two teams there, Jeremy. You are correct.
Who's the other team?
Arkansas State.
No, we'll talk about that. So Will Hall, he's a plucky guy, man. He lost a lot last year, but he lost with a lot of spunk. So Tibbs, does Southern Miss have a chance to do something dangerous in Kentucky?
Will Hall definitely named Tate Rodmaker as his starting quarterback. That's a happy guy that's not in Knoll Nation right now, the Florida State transfer. I don't think it really matters. I think that Southern Miss kind of goes through the motions, kind of discovering maybe what they have, because I don't think that they really know what they have coming out of camp and into the season as well. So kind of a good live scrimmage for them. Scoreboard doesn't reflect it, but they definitely learn a lot in the game as the Wildcats beat the Sun Belt.
Shane, did they beat that spread? 28 points. That's a lot of points.
I don't know. I just have a hard time getting excited about Southern Miss after the last couple of years. I mean, to be honest, we think that they're going to figure it out at quarterback. We think they're going to find something besides Frank Gore to spark the offense, and it never really happened. Maybe Rodemaker's the guy, but I'm not extremely confident in the Eagles heading into this season. And I think Kentucky might struggle in the SEC, but I think that's because that's a really tough conference, and they're probably a lot better than Southern Miss right now.
So Jason Jones, you're familiar with great Sun Belt West running backs. Frank Gore Jr. was one of those guys. He was just fun to watch. Got a lot of yards after the tackle. We're seeing him now in preseason NFL doing the same kind of stuff.
Got cut today, unfortunately.
Oh, did he get cut?
He did.
Yeah,
that's brutal. Why would you do
Jacob
something like that? Yeah, Capote too. But that being said, they don't have him anymore. They don't have anybody except maybe Roadmaker. We don't even know what he has. Does Southern Miss have a chance against Kentucky?
Shout out to AD Jeremy McLean. If Will Hall shows up in his tie and sweater vest, give me Kentucky by 35. But if he will wear a normal shirt like most coaches, then Kentucky only wins by 3 touchdowns.
The sweatiest coach in the Sun Belt. Yes.
I don't understand it. I don't get it. No need for that sweater vest and that tie.
That's how you keep that stomach slender, is you sweat it off under that sweater vest. All right, we were talking about this game a little earlier, guys. 7 p.m. on the ACC network. The Yellow Jackets, Georgia Tech. They're going to welcome Georgia State. The Yellow Jackets are 21.5-point favorites. Georgia State, a lot of new faces, including head coach Del McGee, Shane Metlin. With the Yellow Jackets coming in with that big win over Florida State, are they overlooking the Panthers?
I don't know. I mean, as we discussed, can you overlook a team that's like just a couple miles down the road? Like,
I don't know, maybe.
I'm sure there's plenty of people who, like, you know, were high school rivals and teammates and everything on both sides. It worked out about as well as it possibly could have for Georgia State. That not only do maybe you get a little bit overinflated Yellow Jackets team, they also have to come all the way back from Ireland. That'll take a little bit out of you too.
Sure, that'll take some steam.
But I don't expect necessarily for Georgia State to be clicking all cylinders first time out of the gate after, you know, really revamping everything. Del McGee coming in for his first game. I think we're going to see massive improvement in Georgia State over the next couple of years, but I don't know what we're going to see at week 1.
Jason Jones, no Marcus Carroll, no Darren Granger, no Robert Lewis, no Jontre Hunter. All those guys that made Georgia State a dangerous team last year are gone. Are they going to be any danger to Georgia Tech?
Just like Troy, there's a lot of names we've never heard of that I think we'll know by the end of the year. Perfect scenario for Georgia State here. I'm pulling for them. I don't know that they're going to be able to pull it off, but there's no chance Georgia Tech covers. And it's probably the second quarter before Georgia Tech realizes that they got a ball game they need to be playing. So it's a perfect storm for Georgia State to do something here. And the only hope Georgia Tech has of this thing getting straightened out is that their coach is a Saban guy, and he's had enough life lessons from Saban to figure things out the right way. So I think Georgia Tech probably wins, but I don't think they cover.
Well, let's just take this topic down the dusty trail. Tibbs, what do you think? What's the final analysis on this game?
I do like Georgia State to at least cover in this game. I think that they definitely learned a lot. Like Jason said, this is a big fight for them. They kind of learn a little grit, learn a little bit about themselves. But yeah, it's Georgia Tech that gets the win late in this game.
Yeah, you know, the journey isn't about the win or losses, Tibbs. It's about getting to know yourself, right?
Sometimes. If you do that too much, though, Jeremy, you'll go blind.
So much hair on my palms. 7 p.m. ESPN Plus. Grambling takes on Louisiana. That's one of those in-state games, right? Grambling not expected to be very good this year. Cajuns, for reasons I can't quite figure out, are expected to be pretty good this year. Does Grambling have any shot at making Louisiana uncomfortable, Shane?
Not really.
Okay.
I'm with you. I don't know what to expect from Louisiana once they get in the Sun Belt play. I could see them being a 500 team. I could see them being, 8-9 win team. It's hard to guess, but this one's not. They're going to pound Grambling. They're going to have fun doing it. It's similar, I think, to Marshall, where they can use this one to gain a little momentum. They're just going to outclass Grambling.
Jason Jones this week. Coach Dez picked Ben Woolridge over Chandler Fields to lead the mighty Cajuns onto the field. Were you a little surprised by that?
Yeah, because the other day on Xbox when I played Louisiana, it was Chandler Fields the quarterback. So that one,
Chandler Fields.
Yeah, so that one threw me off. But first of all, shout out to Ark State and Louisiana for playing some FCS in-state schools. Good for them. I'm glad to see that. And I think Louisiana wins this one big.
Tibbs, we know how much you love the Cajuns. Is there any chance that Grambling goes ahead and gives the Cajuns a spoonful of bitter?
The G-Men win the halftime show.
Because they have the band.
They have the band.
Okay. All right, that's always a good pick. Always pick the band. Speaking of picks, we talked a little bit of this on the off channel here. James Madison at Charlotte, 7 p.m. ESPNU. You can catch this one on the U, Shane Metlin. Shane Metlin is the 7 points fair? Are the Dukes a 7-point favorite, or is that kind of low?
I think it's fair. There's a lot of question marks on both sides, and
Yes.
that line has jumped around a lot over the past couple of weeks. I think it's going back towards JMU after the UNC Charlotte press conference today, where their coach kind of comes in kind of depressed, talking about how half his starters are hurt. I don't even know if that's legit or not. There's a lot of question marks. Both teams. I think there's, maybe like 140 new players on both rosters. It's crazy. Don't know quite what to expect. I think JMU should win this one, but there's a lot of question marks.
Dusty, the 49ers have a defensive lineman named Stone Handy, which I thought was a pretty cool name, and it
Should be a tight end.
That's right. Stone hands, yeah. That's pretty. They don't have a whole lot of guys. So James Madison, yeah, we know they've lost a lot of dudes, but they're usually pretty good at picking up a lot of dudes. Is this going to be as close a game as the line suggests?
For sure. I think this is very much a close game. I think the Dukes win it, maybe as a homer pick. But I'll tell you, man, it's hard to pick against good old Biff. I mean, a guy that calls out the media for the 30-second press conference last year, this year opening up the season in a cutoff T-shirt, and woe is me, my whole roster's injured, and the porch fell down, my dog got squished, whatever. How can you pick against a guy like that? But I'll take the homer pick in the Dukes.
As Tibbs fans himself down after such a hot analysis, Jason Jones, is there any chance that this is an upset in the making?
No, and mainly that's for my personal safety. JMU folks are mean. Man, they came after me hard last year. So no, go JMU on this one. I got them by double digits.
Shane, is this true? Because I've heard this too from Georgia State guys today, that JMU fans are just ornery. Is that right?
They can be, yeah.
Okay. Now we've bore the slings and arrows of some ornery fans, and we know Appalachian State can be touchy, Georgia Southern can be touchy, but James Madison touchy? Oh, come on.
I would recommend interacting with them at a tailgate rather than getting online. That would be my. I think you get a different version of the JMU.
Right, well, that's probably better advice.
And now we know why his internet connection is always shady. He's in shadows. He's in hiding.
That's right.
Shane is in hiding.
He is broadcasting from Bolivia. He is living under a new name with a new family and a new job. So that's. Yeah, I don't know if you know Jason Jones, but he ran afoul of the Appalachian State crowd, and his life has not been the same. He doesn't sleep in the same place twice.
I did not know that.
Last game, I think we're going to – I don't know if we made the 28-minute mark, but I think we got pretty close. Last game, another in-state. I think Lamar's in Texas, right? That's a Texas school. All right.
Beaumont.
Yeah, okay. Lamar at Texas State, 7 p.m., no odds given, of course. Texas State, a lot of people love Texas State. They got a lot of good players. They got the Sun Belt Player of the Year and currently the Sun Belt Offensive. No, that's Joey Aguilar. But still, they had the Sun Belt Player of the Year. They've got a lot of good things going for them, more than just Jordan McLeod. Shane Metlin, I'm going to throw it over to you. I don't think Lamar's very good this year. They're kind of okay. Does Texas State kind of overlook them? I know that they got UTSA the next week.
Even if they do overlook them, I think they'll cruise. Even if if they overlook them, it might be like, oh, it's 14-7 going into the second quarter. It shouldn't be this close. Like they're going to blow Lamar out, and it will be. It'll just be let's get a lot of people playing time.
So Jason Jones, is this just a matter of Jordan McLeod spending 60 minutes sort of acquainting himself with his new toys at Texas State?
I think he's going to spend about 30 minutes. I think the other 30 will be knocking back the Powerade or Gatorade. I think what was that score for Ark State, Texas State last year? What was that crazy number?
73-35 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it'll be flipped for this one.
Oh, poor Lamar. Tibbs, I know you like Lamar. I know that Lamar has a special place in your heart. Tell me that Lamar has a shot.
Remember a couple years ago when G.J. Kinney was at Incarnate Word and went to San Marcos and got a win?
Yeah.
That's not happening this week.
Oh,
DJ Kennedy is going to beat the Cardinals like it is nobody's business. I mean, Lamar's not a bad team. They definitely had a pretty good showing last year against ULM in that second game of the season, but they're not as good as Texas State. Viva La Boobcats, I will be there in person to hang out in Jobu's lounge and take it all in.
well, hey guys, I want to congratulate you. You have successfully completed the year's first edition of Second and Short. Ring the gong. Congratulate yourselves. Good work. Jason Jones, you were awesome. You provided the analysis that, quite frankly, Shane and Tibbs just don't provide. So thank God we finally got a professional on this show. So Tibbs, are we wrapping this show up with our traditional way, or have we overspent our dime?
No, we're always good for plugs, promos, and parting shots. I even have a Troy-themed plug, or parting shot, rather, for our Troy guest.
Okay, all right. Now, should we force Jason Jones to do a plug, promo, or parting shot?
Without a doubt, we have to.
Okay.
So, yeah. Jason, we either give a plug of something going on for you. I'm assuming it will be your Trojans Together collective. You can give a parting shot, which is kind of news of the weird, or calling out a fan base, or making fun of Shane even more. You know, whatever you want to do. Yeah. So that's it.
All right. Then I guess mine's going to be a plug. We'd love to have you join our membership at TrojansTogether.com. TrojansTogetherCollective.com. Sorry. TrojansTogether.com is a whole nother website, which we're trying to get, but they won't listen to us. But TrojansTogetherCollective.com, we would love to have your support. Hey, we can market businesses all over the country. So we're here to help you while you help our student athletes.
Man, that was an excellent plug. Shane, are you going to be able to outplug that?
No, I'm not. But I will plug, just because you guys give me a hard time for plugging when I can't think of anything else. But it is this week. It's the start of the season. So if you're going to read some sports writing content about JMU, the Sun Belt in general, everything, this is the week for me to plug DNRonline.com. Read about the games on Saturday. Read previews here over the next few days, and we'll just be pumping out a ton of content to get ready for the real start of football season. Week 0 is fine, but this is the real start. We all like really just dive in.
You know, and Shane, I know you've been in my shoes. You've been pumping out that July and June content like a hero. You know, just this digging into the desert, hoping to find that water. But now you're here, man. You've struck the gold. You've got the oil. It's going to be nothing but great stories from you, right?
Oh yeah.
I will leave Tibbs with the last one, since he's got the Troy related. Is it a parting shot or is it a promo?
It's all of the above.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll go with my parting shot, which isn't really a shot at all. I went ahead and watched that new Aliens movie. You guys watched the new Aliens Romulus? No?
Sure, Jeremy.
I was washing my hair that night.
No. I love the Alien series. Even the new ones that are kind of weird and out there, I just like watching them. I like science fiction.
There's a normal one?
What?
You said you like the weird. I was like, is there a normal one?
Well, no. The new ones are a little bit out there. It's very philosophical and stuff. You really have to think twice as hard. But this new one that's come out, you don't have to think hard at all. It's aliens. It's humans. They're out, battling each other. It's fun to watch. They kind of go practical with the effects. There's not a lot of CGI. So you get a lot of puppeteering and masks, and that's really cool. So yeah, if you like kind of that old school Aliens movies like Alien and Aliens 2 and even Aliens 3, I loved Aliens 3. Hell, I'll even take Aliens 4. This is kind of goes back to the formula, goes back to just sort of haunted house in space. So check it out if you can. Although, quite frankly, I just wait until it came to streaming like all movies do and enjoy it on your giant TV.
You remember back at Sunbelt Media Days?
Yeah.
One of the Troy representatives was Eli Russ, the offensive lineman.
Yeah, such a big guy.
He's a big steak. He loves some steak. But I found something that might be Eli approved.
Oh.
That the Trojans Together Collective can get him to promote.
Right,
McDonald's is launching their biggest burger ever with a half pound of beef patties, 3 slices of cheese, onion, pickle, lettuce, and a new tangy Big Arch sauce. As soon as I saw it, I was like, Eli, he's all over it. Jason, make it happen.
If we can get Ronald McDonald to come to the table, we can make it happen.
This is a mini meditation guided by Bombas. Repeat after me. I'm comfy. I'm cozy. I have 0 blisters on my toes. And that's because I wear Bombas, the softest socks, underwear, and t-shirts that give back. 1 purchased equals 1 donated. Now go to bombas.com/listen and use code LISTEN for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com/listen and use code LISTEN at checkout.